One big way Star Trek. Lower Decks is more realistic than the Next Generation. When most fans think of Star Trek, the Next Generation TNG, they picture a sleek starship gliding through the galaxy, with Captain Picard delivering inspirational speeches, Commander Riker exuding charm, and Data providing philosophical insight into what it means to be human. The show is aspirational, utopian, and meticulously polished. But as much as TNG's vision of the future dazzles, it's not exactly realistic. And that's where Star Trek Lower Decks comes in. Lower Decks flips the lens, focusing on the unsung junior officers, people who actually run the ship's day-to-day operations but never get heroic monologues or existential crises. While TNG glamorizes Starfleet, Lower Decks shows what it might genuinely be like to serve on a starship. It's this focus on the ordinary, mundane, and occasionally humiliating details of service that makes it, surprisingly, more realistic than the lofty ideals of TNG. Take, for example, the handling of rank and responsibility. In TNG, junior officers like Wesley Crusher occasionally stumble into world-saving scenarios, but the crew generally seems composed, competent, and ready for anything. Lower Decks, by contrast, shines a light on the reality that most people, even in Starfleet, aren't heroes. Ensigns Mariner, Boimler, Tendi, and Rutherford spend more time dealing with tedious tasks, bureaucratic hurdles, and occasional accidents than engaging in dramatic away missions. This mirrors real-life organizations far more closely. The majority of people's work consists of repetitive, procedural, and often thankless tasks. Starfleet, when viewed through the lens of TNG, seems like a nonstop adventure. Lower Decks reminds viewers that even in a futuristic utopia, most work is still work. The show also gets humorously honest about incompetence and human or alien error. In TNG, characters rarely suffer real consequences for mistakes. If the Enterprise's shields fail, Picard calmly gives an order, and everything is miraculously fixed by the end of the episode. In Lower Decks, errors happen all the time, often with farcical or uncomfortable outcomes. Equipment breaks, procedures are botched, and sometimes the chain of command screws up. This is not only funnier, but far closer to the operational reality of any organization. Even highly trained professionals make mistakes, and the cumulative effect of minor errors is a reality TNG glosses over entirely. Another aspect where Lower Decks surpasses TNG in realism is interpersonal dynamics. TNG often focuses on idealized teamwork and almost utopian problem solving. Conflicts exist, yes, but they tend to be resolved with elegance, diplomacy, and mutual respect. Lower Decks doesn't shy away from personality clashes, office politics, and the mundane frustration of working with people you don't particularly like. Boimler's anxiety, Mariner's rebellious streak, and Rutherford's social awkwardness depict the messy reality of human and alien interactions in a shared workspace. Starfleet isn't a perfect family, it's a workplace, and Lower Decks treats it like one. The show's attention to minor, but telling details is another reason it feels more realistic. From supply room mishaps to tedious maintenance checks, Lower Decks understands that in a starship crew of hundreds, only a fraction are engaged in exciting adventures. Much of the narrative revolves around logistical hiccups, mundane assignments, or the quiet frustration of not being noticed. TNG rarely portrays these background realities. The deck crews are just invisible cogs in the background, whereas Lower Decks celebrates them, giving the universe depth and plausibility. Even the depiction of hierarchy and consequences is more believable. In TNG, disciplinary actions are rare, and officers are generally heroic, competent, and virtuous. Lower Decks introduces a more nuanced view. Promotions are hard-won, mistakes carry embarrassment or reprimand, and career paths are uncertain. Starfleet, like any large institution, has bureaucracy, favoritism, and politics. Portraying these elements adds an extra layer of realism while simultaneously opening comedic and narrative opportunities that TNG could never explore without breaking its polished tone. Finally, Lower Decks excels at showing the psychological toll of life aboard a starship. While TNG emphasizes heroism and idealism, Lower Decks depicts stress, burnout, and personal dissatisfaction alongside moments of joy and camaraderie. This aligns far more closely with how humans experience life in demanding, high-responsibility roles. Not every day is an epic adventure, and the challenges of coping with monotony, tension, and occasional danger are real. The show balances humor with empathy, creating a sense of authenticity that makes the characters' victories, even minor ones, feel earned. In conclusion, TNG gave audiences a polished, aspirational vision of T,